let's call this segment How to Tell the Difference Between Healthy Testing Behavior and Red Flags. So if you struggled with personal boundaries in love and you find yourself questioning the line between holding a boundary and making a discerning decision in love versus being emotionally abusive or manipulative, then this is a segment that you would want to stick around for, because we're going to talk about the nuances between normal and even healthy limit testing in relationships so that you can make a sound and discerning judgment about a potential partner versus the manipulative and emotionally abusive game playing that can sometimes occur in the extreme. And so in this segment, we're going to explore a few common scenarios that may leave you kind of scratching your head. And I'd like to offer some guidelines on how to interpret it. So more specifically, we're going to take a look at if a partner pulls back a little bit after having sex the first time, if a partner cancels a date out of the blue, if a partner ogles another attractive person, or if a partner teases you with sarcasm and banter. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Brianna McWilliam, and I am a licensed and board-certified creative arts therapist, author, and educator with more than 15 years in the field, helping adults struggling with insecure attachment go from self-doubting to self-sovereign so they can attract those soul-shaking, passionate partnerships that they want without having to talk in circles around their feelings for hours or even years on end with no tangible result. And I do this using a psycho-spiritual approach to creative arts interventions using the McWilliam method. Today, I'm going to be sharing a clip of a live stream event that took place inside my private Facebook groups, which people can access once they've purchased one of my online courses. If you're interested in finding out if you might have insecure attachment, check out the link in the caption of this video. You'll be able to take an easy 4-question quiz and find out your attachment style, plus a detailed explanation. Now, if you like what you see in here, and you haven't yet, make sure that you like, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications. I put up videos once or twice a week, and sometimes I will do occasional live streams through my YouTube channel, and I wouldn't want you to miss out. So to dive in, I want to just kind of restate the question here. What does it mean to test a partner in order to make a discerning decision about whether or not you want to commit to that person long term? When does this testing cross over into manipulation or emotionally abusive mind games, right? Now, for the purposes of this segment, I'm going to define testing a partner and their limits as a form of boundary exploration. So the purpose of this exploration is usually to determine the compatibility of your long-term goals, values, and your character. So if you like someone and you're debating whether or not you want to commit yourself to them long term, there are a few things that you're going to want to know about them before you make a decision like that. So in other words, are they someone who's going to stand their ground and demonstrate a little backbone in tough times, or are they going to crumble? Equally, if you're experiencing emotional distress, are they dismissive and unable to provide support, or are they warm, empathic, and loving? When faced with a challenge, do they withdraw and displace their fear and anger, or do they find creative solutions and reach out for help when required? Will they be confident and speak their mind as a relationship progresses, or will you have to make every single decision? So on and so forth. And so each of us will have our own little unique either or questions like this in our minds and in our hearts when we're evaluating potential partners. And when we meet new partners, inevitably, we enact little tests around them, whether we're conscious of it or not. And this is actually, I would say, healthy to a certain degree, because at the basis of this, we are asking questions like, how might this person fit into my life? What would they contribute? Do they inspire feelings of warmth and generosity within me that compel me to contribute to them in an authentic way? Do I like myself around them, and do I feel joyful in their presence? Do they have a strength of character, and do we share the most important values that would sustain a relationship long term? As Esther Perel says, are you looking for a life story, or are you looking for a love story? I love that quote. Now, the culmination of these little testing behaviors will ultimately determine your answer, right? So part of being able to show up to relationships is being aware of when you are being tested and why. So it's also important to realize when this normal testing behavior crosses over from innocent discernment and character assessment, let's say, into emotionally manipulative or abusive behavior, because when that happens, obviously, the result is a significantly decreased quality of life. So for today, I'm going to offer a few common and fairly innocent ways in which we might test each other early on in a dating relationship. I also compare these to a more extreme version. We might even call it an abusive version, which would be giant red flag flashing signs that your partner has to do some serious internal work before a relationship can evolve, a healthy one, let's say. So the first scenario I'd like to address is if a partner pulls back a little bit after having sex for the first time. So it's important to know that when we start testing our partners, it's actually a sign that we're becoming more emotionally involved with them because it feels as if we've got more to lose. So we are more cautious and increasingly tentative about our investment. And after the first time you sleep with someone, one or both partners might question what it means to the other person and even what it means to them. So more specifically, they will want to know, how is this going to evolve now? Does this change anything? And because we as a society do not necessarily teach our children how to talk about emotions directly, let alone about sexual interactions, we will do things indirectly to spark an emotional reaction in order to get that information. So in some cases, a partner may pull back to see if the other will chase. And if they do, it may prove affection and afford a sense of safety and control for the withdrawing party. It could also mean that the withdrawing party simply felt a degree of closeness that surprised them or made them unexpectedly apprehensive, and they are doing what they must to retain their equilibrium with a temporary cushion of emotional distance. Now, rather than respond impulsively to a withdrawal, I would advise naming it for what it is directly and compassionately in order to create a safe space to have an authentic dialogue about the meaning of sex for both of you. And this allows you to pass the test because you demonstrate personal integrity and kind of a no bullshit attitude while also communicating how you actually feel, which is what you're looking for. It also discourages indirect testing behaviors in the future while demonstrating that you are not to be controlled. You are an equal. And so when this turns into, on the other hand, when that kind of behavior bleeds into or turns into disrespect or manipulation is when the withdrawal is repeated and continual and unexplained and appears to be a clear rejection of intimacy or emotional honesty or a deeper opening up of the space between you. And so the intention becomes blatant, mean-spirited, controlling, and is usually a sign that the relationship has become about power dynamics and has eroded over time. Okay. Now, the second scenario is if a partner cancels a date out of the blue. So when this happens as an expression of testing behavior, or let's say boundary exploration, whether that is conscious or unconscious, it's often that the canceling party wants to know whether or not you are flexible. Now, notably, your partner will call to cancel and give you a heads up, usually. They may tell you that they're not sure if they can meet yet because maybe they have to work late. Can you play it by ear? They will want to know how you respond when plans change. Do you still have your own hobbies and passions, or does that all disappear when you get into a relationship? But they won't totally disrespect you or your time. Now, of course, there are occasions when all of us have to work late by surprise, and we have to make allowances for that. But if you have a gut feeling that this might be a test, my recommendation is to go entertain your own hobbies and passions. Don't wait around to find out if they can confirm those plans last minute. Then when they call you to confirm or not, let them know that you've moved on and made other plans because you didn't want them to feel any pressure. They've obviously been under a lot of pressure at work. You can invite them to participate in your new plans if you like, but the point is to demonstrate that you have your own life too, and that doesn't just stop or disappear because they unexpectedly have to work late. Now, this is music to the ears of any workaholic who experiences a lot of obligation and pressure at their workplace. It can also make you look like the exception to the rule when it comes to committed relationships. You're no ball and chain, and also you're there to support them. Of course, the goal here is to actually have alternative hobbies and pursuits that you enjoy just as much as you do spending time with your partner. So when you respond this way, it comes across as being authentic because it is, right? Because you are responding in this way from a place of self-sovereignty. Now, when this bleeds into manipulation is when they don't call at all and then they stand you up. Or maybe they make plans with you, don't show up, and then they call you the day or two later, acting as if you never made plans. And then they convince you that it was just your misunderstanding, Or they may call you a week later with a really elaborate half-baked story, accepting no accountability and making it seem like you're the bad guy for overreacting and being upset. Now, even if their mother died, it takes 2 seconds to text someone that you're currently dating. My mother died and I need some time alone with family. I'll text you in a few days after the funeral. Okay, number 3. If a partner ogles another attractive person when they are with you. Now, often when partners are blatantly trying to make you jealous, it's because they're looking for reassurance that you care, or positioning themselves in the relationship power dynamic by pushing up against a boundary and testing your limits with this. So many individuals equate jealousy with caring, loving, interested, and attracted feelings. So needling you like this is intended to get a rise out of you, kind of like plugging a quarter in the pinball machine. They want to see you light up and blow some whistles and bells because that's a great show. And it can be deeply gratifying to know that someone is acting like this in response to something you did. It also lets them know who is driving the emotional control bus of the relationship. So if you'd rather not be a slave to this throughout the rest of your relationship, I suggest not giving into it. And the best way to do that is to maintain your own sense of self-sovereignty and desirability by keeping your jealousy and your insecurity in check. So if you want to know how to do that, I do have a YouTube video called 4 Must-Know Tips for Jealousy and Insecure Attachment Styles, which I invite you to check out to learn more about that in detail. Now, this becomes toxic when it is no longer playful or slight and infrequent, but all the time, and or to the point where they spend the whole night disrespectfully ignoring you while chatting up somebody else, blatantly propositioning someone else, hiding inappropriate communications and indiscretions, or actually cheating on you. Okay. And the last scenario is if a partner teases you with sarcasm or banter. Now, in Western culture, especially I would say in the United States, I've observed this, there is a way of relating to each other that consists of competition and control. And we might use sarcasm and banter to connect because we basically dismiss all other forms of emotionally honest exchange. They can also be ways of testing how emotional or vulnerable you can make someone. It's a form of toughening up emotionally while also a way of expressing affection sometimes. Now, sometimes you might think of this as a playful way of romantically sparring. So some partners want someone who will joke around and be their partner in crime, not necessarily a yes man or yes ma'am all the time. They want someone that they can kind of butt up against. Now, the provocation is a way of assessing if you'll be able to stand up for yourself without falling apart. If you can give as good as you get. And if you can, then this partner might trust you more. They may also be trying to assess your emotional buttons, which if they ever feel vulnerable in the relationship, they might choose to push in order to reassert their position. Now, if you prove yourself to not be so easily shaken, then they don't think that you can easily be manipulated, and you will earn their respect and likely a deeper sense of commitment. Now, when this bleeds into the realm of toxicity is when it becomes character assassination and emotional abuse, and people start hitting below the belt unnecessarily. That is unacceptable. And if at any time it feels as though the banter and the sarcasm has become an assault upon your esteem and sense of self-worth to the point where genuine feelings in exchange are being dismissed, or it's being used as a way to puff themselves up in comparison to you, then that is unacceptable, and I would not stick around for that. Okay. So these are those 4 scenarios again. If a partner pulls back a bit after having sex for the first time, they may be needing to assess their own feelings because now there's more to lose, right? There's a deepening going on in the relationship. It becomes toxic when it becomes repetitive, unexplained, and you start to feel as if you're being used. Secondly, if a partner cancels a date out of the blue, they may be trying to test your flexibility. I recommend that if they are going to ask you to play it by ear, you make alternative plans, that you actually have hobbies and pursuits that you enjoy doing as much as being with your partner. And if they do decide that they can meet you, invite them to your plans, right? If a partner ogles another attractive person when they are with you, it's likely that they're trying to make you jealous because they're looking for reassurance of your feelings and potentially trying to figure out who's got the emotional control here in the relationship. My recommendation is if you'd rather not be a ping pong ball throughout the rest of the relationship, you don't respond to it in that way, and find a way to offer them the reassurance that they need without being pushed around by indirect tactics like this. And lastly, if a partner teases you with sarcasm or banter, they may be looking to see if you can stand up for yourself without crumbling, if you have a backbone, if you can give as good as you get. And this is a way of connecting and expressing affection in a way of kind of romantically sparring with each other. When it becomes toxic is when it bleeds into character assassination. Someone starts hitting below the belt or trying to tear down your esteem. That's unacceptable. It's abusive, and I recommend you exit right away. All right. So if this information resonates with you or if you find it helpful, I would love to type a yes in the chat box there. Let me know, and we can continue to create more content like this.